Good evening and welcome back. Is Wednesday night is the Mid Michigan Bible Study. I am your usual host, Stephen, um, and we're gonna we're gonna be tackling some more parables today. Clay is going to be popping in soon, I hope, but he is just running a little bit behind from work, so we're not gonna wait too long for him. I'm sure he'll pop in while I'm talking. Frankly. He's usually pretty good about that. But um, right now, I just want to do a little bit of housekeeping. Please, if you have been enjoying this content, if you're watching, please like, subscribe, do what we can to push this into the algorithm. I don't need viewers, but it'd be nice to have. It'd be nice to spread the word of God to all who you know want to hear it, or even to those who don't want to hear it. But we're gonna make sure they hear it anyway. Um, Before I even get started, I gotta make sure I'm in the right chapter on Bible Hub. Because I'm in Luke right now, and I don't need to be in Luke. Sorry, Mark. I need to be in Luke. I need to be in Luke, but I was in Mark. Um, oh, so other than liking them and subscribing, if you have any questions, involving this the topic, like we're starting the parables of Jesus right now. We are knee deep in the parables exclusive to the book of Luke. um don't mind me saying a lot. That's a comma in my brain. Anyway, so we're going to be tackling trying to tackle at least three parables. These ones are a little bit longer than the ones the other day, and I'm trying to see if there's anything in particular I want to focus on before we start. I hope that Clay pops in at some point, but I I'm still thinking about like engaging in apologetics, like doing a live call and stream. I don't have very many viewers, but hopefully I can find some way to push myself into the algorithm just enough so that I get at least a few call-ins. Like whenever I do my first apologetic stream, like call-in stream, I will be focusing on the topic of objective morality versus moral relativism. And basically the question will be like, where do your morals come from? Like as an atheist, where do your morals come from? And that's the topic I'm going to be focusing on, because I hold to the view that morality is objective. Like morality, there's an objective moral standard set by God, and of course, that's easy to defend, in my opinion. I actually am probably going to see if Clay wants to participate in that, or if uh, my friend Holy Grind wants to participate in that. If he does, I'll get a hold of him, because I know that his background, like he came from an atheist worldview before coming to Christ, as did I. That's why I'd like him on there. I would like former atheists to be talking to atheists, because I feel like we kind of have insight into what they're thinking. Um, if you have any questions as we go through this, I would encourage you to pop them in the chat, so that we can address them as we can. Um, Trying to think if there's anything else. Uh, oh, so unfortunately, my friend Joe is no longer going to be able to participate in these streams. at least on Wednesday nights, he has gone back to working 4 tens instead of uh, 3 on, 4, like 3 on, 3 off, 4 on, 4 off. So because of that, he is no longer going to be able to participate. I'm going to see if I can get him, like, if there's something we can set up on Sundays when he has off, so that we can continue any edification that comes from this kind of stream. I've talked to him in the past about possibly doing like a gaming stream where I'll stream from my computer. Like I'll play a game while he and I talk uh, about just God in general. And I'll talk to him about that, and maybe we can set that up. Either way, I'm going to try and get a hold of him. One thing I need to do, I really need to do this, and this is a big conviction of mine, and I've been having a heck of a time trying to get it done, because I just haven't found the time. I got my kids to take care of, but I have to reach out to my friend, uh, my best friend from high school, and I haven't talked to him in like 2 years, and I feel really bad about that, but I haven't had a chance to talk to him. I've reached out to him on Discord, but he hasn't really responded, and I want to try and figure out what's going on and make sure he's all right. So if he could just pray for my friend, pray for me, to be bold and uh, find some time to go talk to him. It's one of the it's one of the really bad things about being an introvert is I'm not good at keeping in contact with people because I don't know what to talk to people about. Um, and I know that I have to ease it once I reconnect with him, like if he's willing, I gotta ease into the conversation on God because I know that that might be a big reason why we were having such a disconnect. Because it happened shortly after I you know came to Christ. So anyway, frankly I thought uh Clay would be on by now, so I'm just going to switch. There we are. I'm going to switch to this and we will get talking. And I also want to apologize to anyone who might see that I'm not exactly looking at the camera. I'm trying to maintain eye contact. Problem is, my camera is right here. My computer screen is down here. Like, so, uh, I'm keeping an eye on StreamYard, and I'm also trying to keep an eye on the camera. So, apologies if you're being taken out of it because I'm not looking into the camera. All right, so the first parable we're going to tackle tonight is the rich fool, and that is found in Luke 12, starting at verse 13, all the way through 21. And I'm going to mark these after we're done, after this stream is over. That way, I can send this, I can share this with Clay. That way, he knows where we're at. Uh, all right, so someone in the crowd said to him, "Teacher, tell my brothers to divide the inheritance with me." But he said to him, "Man, who made me a judge or arbitrator over you?" And he said to them, "Take care and be on your guard against all covetousness, for one's life does not consist in the abundance of his possessions." And he told them a parable, saying, "The land of a rich man produced plentifully. And he thought to himself, What shall I do for you? What shall I do, for I have nowhere to store my crops? And he said, I will do this. I will tear down my barns and build larger ones. And there I will store all my grains and my goods. And I will say to my soul, Soul, you have ample goods laid up for many years. Relax, eat, drink, and be merry." But God said to him, "Fool, this night your soul is required of you, and the things you have prepared, whose will they be? So is the one who lays up treasures for himself and is not rich towards God." Man, I really wish Clay was in here right now because this is a great one. So first things first is that um we have someone asking Jesus to like be a judge or arbitrator, like saying, "Hey, tell him to divide the inheritance with me because that's what I want." And Christ kind of responds in a similar way to Mark 10, I believe it is, where that's Psalms. Don't worry about that. I believe it's Mark 10. It might not be Mark 10. Yeah, it's Mark 10. Man, I'm good. I'm getting good at that. Uh, where young man comes to him and says, like, "Good teacher, what must I do to inherit eternal life?" And Jesus responds, um, "Why do you call me good? No one is good except God alone." And I want to make this clear. This is not Jesus saying that he is not God. This is Jesus rebuking this young man for like challenging this young man to determine where his heart is lying. Like, is his heart with God or is it with uh his money? And in Luke 12, it rings very similar, like very true. Like, why are you asking me? I'm not your judge. God is your judge. Like, who made me judge over you? And he's basically challenging, saying to this to this man, like, hey, like, you want me to tell your brother to divide the inheritance, but who made me the judge? Like, who am I to you? Like, am I God? Am I your Lord, or am I uh just a man? Like, where do I sit in your heart? And he says to them, take care and be on your guard against all covetousness, for one's life does not consist in the abundance of his possessions. And it's very similar to Mark 10, where he's like calling out his view of possessions and what he uh sees, like what is valuable to you. Like, what is are the things of this world valuable to you, or are the things of God valuable to you? And then he goes into the parable, and I'm just going to say that this parable just makes me think of something I hear constantly, and I actually want Clay to hop in very soon. I am hoping he's hopping in soon because I want him to touch on this, like what I'm about to say. So I am going to try and find it, try and find something. I'm trying to find something that Paul said, I believe. I'm not sure where it will be though. I know it's something Paul said. If it's not something Paul said, then it's something that was said in Hebrews, which people generally attribute to Paul. But like like a sermon from Paul, written by someone else, basically. Oh, 6. I guess it is verbatim. Oh, okay. So it's in 2 Corinthians 6:2 that I was looking for. And I'm going to bring that over here. All right. So here I have it up. 6:2. Um, Where he says, "In a favorable time I listened to you, and in a day of salvation I have helped you. Behold, now is the favorable time. Behold, now is the day of salvation." And I want to put that at the forefront of our head, like of our minds right now, okay? Because we're gonna look at this parable again, and I want everyone who listens to hear this. Today is the day of salvation. So let's read it again. The land of a rich man produced plentifully, and he thought to himself, "What shall I do? For I have nowhere to store my crops." And he said, "I will do this. I will tear down my barns and build larger ones, and there I will store all my grain and my goods. And I will say to my soul, Soul, you have ample goods laid up for many years. Relax, eat, drink, be merry." But God said to him, and this is the important part, God said to him, "Fool, this night your soul is required of you, and the things you have prepared, whose will they be? So is the one who lays up treasures for himself and is not rich toward God." Like this rich fool, and I'm going to refer to him as rich fool from now on. This rich fool, uh, like s- he has an abundance. He has everything he'll ever need. In fact, he has more than what he needs. And he makes plans. He says, "Okay, well, I'm not going to do this today, but I'm going to do this tomorrow, and I will tear down my barns. I will, I will, I will, I will. Like I will tear down my barns. I will store all my grains, and I will say to my soul, you have ample goods. You're good. You're good for years. I'm not going to worry about it." And God says to him, like, "No, you're wrong. You're focused on what you have tomorrow. You're focused on what you have today when tomorrow isn't promised." That's why I want that's why I want to put Second Corinthians 6 at the forefront of our minds, because like this man is making plans based on what he has today. When there is no promise in our heart, like there's no promise that we will even wake up tomorrow. And I want you to hear what I'm not saying is that we should live every day like it's our last, because we can make plans. Like like in we can make plans for the future. Yeah, I'm not saying that we can't. But like we have to understand that tomorrow isn't promised, and we whatever plans we have should be focused on God. And that's what it says at the end of this parable. So is the one who lays up treasures for himself and is not rich toward God. Like we need to be focused, like whatever we do, like if we're gonna make plans for the future, we have to understand that those plans should be to glorify God and to put our focus on God, and not like lay up treasures, like not build up treasures on earth like that would just rot and take up space. Because you have to consider we do have to consider the saying, like one man's trash is another man's treasure. Because you have like one way we can think about it is that like we've all had people pass, we've all had people that we love and care about, and they've passed from this world. For me, it's my brother and my grandma, my aunts. I've had a lot of people pass in the past couple years. And right now my dad, he's battling with cancer. He's dealing with that. Um, and what's going to happen when, like, if and when he passes? I pray that it's not anytime soon. I'm going to continuously pray that he sees tomorrow. But you have to consider, like, what's going to happen to his stuff when he passes. Think about that. Some of it is going to go to my brothers and I. Some of it my stepmom's probably going to keep. But what's going to happen to the rest of it? It's going to be junk. And like frankly, anything that my stepmom keeps is probably going to be junk as well. Like not to be harsh towards my dad. I love him, but like you have to consider that. Like his stuff is going to take up space, and it's going to be stuff that no one else is ever going to use again. But it's just going to take up space where it's at because it's not. He can't take it with you. Like he can't take anything with you. And like I'm sure we're gonna do our best to help my dad and like well help my stepmom and take things off of her hand. But then it's just gonna move from one place to another. It's gonna move from his house to my house, and it's gonna take up space in my house. And I'm not saying that I don't want it in my house, but like like we have to consider like to him it was a treasure. To me, it might not be as much. And even the sentimental value, like it will be a treasure to me, but like it won't have the same sentimental value for me as it did for him. But he did accumulate that stuff. And some of it he probably didn't want to accumulate, if I'm being honest. But like I do know that his focus is on God, and I know that for a fact. So when he does pass, like his focus will be on God. Like right, and I'm sure he knows this more now than ever because he is battling with cancer. He's battling with disease that could take him out of this world at any moment. And he's like saying to himself, like, today is the day of salvation. Today I need to put my focus on God because tomorrow isn't promised. And another thing that I can go back to with Second Corinthians 6 with the today is the day of salvation. Like this is the day of salvation is Matthew 6:34. Like behind me you see a flag that says Matthew 6:33 like trust God first, but like Matthew 6:34 says so worry not about tomorrow for tomorrow has troubles all of its own. I'm gonna have to pull it up because I can't remember off the top of my head. I'm close, but I'm not gonna lie, I love Matthew 6. Like, it's a great. Therefore, do not be anxious about tomorrow, for tomorrow will it be anxious for itself. Sufficient for the day is its own trouble. So that is just one thing I want you to take away from this parable is that today is the day of salvation. You can't you can't focus on tomorrow because you can't worry about tomorrow. Like you can make plans for tomorrow. I'm not saying you can't, but tomorrow, like you can't worry about what's going to happen. Mm, There's plenty of worries for tomorrow. Focus on today. Focus on how you're going to honor God today. Because today is the day of salvation. I'm going to repeat that. I'm going to hammer it into your heads because I need to hammer it into mine. Um, like we need to focus on how we are going to honor God today and glorify God today. And this is one thing I actually heard earlier today, like while I was listening to a podcast. One of my favorite Christian podcasters, Michael Pagano. He spoke with Trent Horn, who is a Catholic apologist, and he actually said that he's jealous of the Catholic. Like Michael Pagano, he's a Protestant, um, and I'm just saying that in the broad term, not like specific. Like but he's a Protestant who used to be Catholic, and he says that he's jealous of Catholics because like they have like Catholic churches have mass every single day of the week, but for most Protestants and well, kind of for all Protestants, like services, like church service is only on Sunday, and that's a big problem I see with the. Yep. Hold on. And that's a big problem that I see with the Protestant church as well. Is that like some people are only focusing on God one day a week, but we are the body of the church. Like, we are the body of Christ. Like the church is the body of Christ, and we should be focusing on God every day. Yeah. Sorry. I did kind of take an intermission because Clay was asking if it was still okay to join. I don't know if he knew that I started half an hour late. Like he liked the post I made in earlier, but saying that I was going to be half an hour later, but I don't know if he saw. So or comprehended, I guess. So he asked if it was still okay to join. So I'm expecting him within the next minute or so. Um, since I'm expecting the next minute, I'm going to just take a pause. I'm pretty sure the only one watching right now, anyway, is me. So I'm not gonna worry about that. Um, just waiting on shenanigans, Clay. Oh dang! Frankly, I did not know it stays in there. Sorry. Like while I'm waiting for Clay, I'm just gonna like go through some of the things on StreamYard that I can mess with. Um, right now it's 29 minutes into the stream. So if you have any questions, like that's the timestamp to go with. And I'll try and get to your questions after the fact on YouTube. Like it might be a response, like a reply to your comment, but like if you have a question about that, like my like about especially about my view, like today being the day of salvation, like it's biblical in my opinion with like Second Corinthians 6, but and with this, not only this, but Matthew 6:34, like those kind of build a view that like tomorrow's not promised. Today is the day of salvation.
Hey,
And there
Ruben,
evening.
how's it going?
Oh good. I did start half an hour later, so
Very good.
I'm going until at least 10:30.
All right.
At least. You know
Yeah.
how it's been the past couple of weeks. It could easily go past that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I had a late night at work last. Well, yes, last night, and then tonight I ended a little bit earlier, but then I got back and there was, of course, more issues back here to fix. So
Classic.
yeah. All right. Where are we at? I missed too much.
Um I haven't even moved on from the first parable because I've had a lot to say about this.
All right. I won't make you recap that until after the stream.
Fair enough. Like I don't know if you want like I know I sent it to you earlier, so I don't know if you read through it. But if there's anything you guys like if you that you want to say before we move forward,
Mm.
uh go for it. If
Are
you didn't read
you
it,
going off from Matthew or?
Luke. It's we're in Luke now. So it's Luke 12:13 through 21, the parable of the rich fool. But that's up to you if you have anything to say about that. But if not, we can move on and then I can recap it afterwards.
Yeah, we can recap it later.
All right, then I'll move on. Uh, this next parable is the parable of unfruitful fig tree. I'm not sure if that's the literal, but it's in Luke 13, verse 6 through 9. A parable of the barren fig tree. All right. And he told this parable: a man had a fig tree planted in his vineyard, and he came seeking fruit on it and found none. And he said to the vine dresser, look, for 3 years now I've come seeking fruit on this fig tree, and I find none. Cut it down. Why should it use up to the ground? And he answered, Sir, let it alone this year also, until I dig around it and put on manure. Then, if it should bear fruit next year, well and good, but if not, you can cut it down. So, this one actually, I think this one goes pretty well with like the parable of the sower. What he's saying is like I know you're not seeing any fruit right now, but like give me some opportunity. Like let me water it. Let me like plant some more seeds. Like let me dig around. Let me give it a chance to grow. The heck was that sound?
Sorry, my ringtone. Boss is trying to call me right now. I'm gonna ignore him. Is end of the workday. I'm not worrying with it right now.
Oh, fair enough.
Whatever it is,
But yeah,
it's not my problem right now.
fair enough. Yeah. But yeah, that to me is like the plain and simple reading of this is like it goes along with the parable of the sower. It's saying give me more time, like give me more time to plant it and like give it a chance to grow. And like if not, let your will be done.
Yeah.
What do you think? Anything to say on that?
Well, I think we've talked about it in the past, but I think there's also something to be said about the verses that a you'll be known by the no, wow, if I could just talk one day in my life, I might be able to accomplish something.
Eva shenanigans.
Yeah, a tree will be known, or you will be known by the fruit that you produce. And if you skip back a little bit to Luke 6, verses 43 through 45, it talks about how there's good trees and there's bad trees. Good trees will produce good fruit, and bad trees will produce bad fruit. And then it continues with verse 45, and it says that a good person out of the good treasure of their heart will produce good fruit, and the evil person out of their evil treasure will produce evil. For out of the abundance of the heart is the mouth speaks. And it lists how to tell good from evil, both in trees, or in this case the fruit of the spirit, and the heart. But what it doesn't list is those that fail to produce fruit at all. And I think it's interesting in one sense that it doesn't mention it until you move forward towards John chapters 15 and 16. I forget where it's at specifically in those two chapters, but Jesus talking about he is the vine and we are the branches, and
I
those
believe that's John 15 specifically.
I'm thinking you're right, but it has been a minute.
Yeah. Right here.
But it talks about how he is the vine and we are the branches, and so we should be producing fruit. But to those that don't produce fruit, they'll be ripped up like weeds and tossed like chaff to the wind to be burned up in the fire. And just like that cursed fig tree, both the one that Jesus himself cursed and in the parable, it's talking about a tree that doesn't produce fruit at all. And Jesus didn't give it any chance at all when it came his turn to decide what to do with a barren tree. And yet in this case with the master, they're giving it a chance, and he listened to his servants that, okay, yes, invest a little bit of time with it. Perhaps it just didn't fall on wasn't planted in some suitable ground, and is missing nutrients, so give it some time. But then after that, if it still doesn't produce, rip it up and replace it. Why should this thing take away from the nutrients of the others? And that specific line is kind of powerful, because it's very reminiscent of the "Depart from me, for I never knew you," because it's not just the warning that you should be producing good fruit rather than bad fruit. It's, if you fail to produce fruit at all, you're not just being a disgrace in the fact that you should be a tree in and of itself. You're pulling away the nutrients and the blessings, the needs from those around you. You're actively pulling them down. And I think, just like we've talked about before with Paul's writings, how everything is all connected here. Jesus's parables are all connected. And all of this, every single parable he gives, to my knowledge, is all talking about effectively the kingdom of heaven. And
yeah, like he's using parables, like he's using metaphors that people know in that time to relay like kingdom truths.
Right. And he says it in one of them, it's better for it would be better for a man who causes one of the least of these to stumble, or one of the little ones to stumble, if he had a millstone hung around his neck and he were tossed into the sea, or that he was never born to begin with. And it's very similar with this case, where he's saying, if we put all this nutrients and attention into this one, and it's just continue to soak everything we give it up, but it's not producing anything, it's not being an active part of the body, it's not contributing to the goal of the orchard or bearing fruit, rip it up and toss it out. It is of no use to me. So it's very reminiscent of the "Depart from me, for I never knew you." But it almost in one sense even more direct.
And I do think that this we have talked about, like I've mentioned it before to you, like the idea of once saved always saved. Like, here's the thing, is that there are parts of it I agree with, but like one part I disagree with. Some people, like they have a very like hyper grace point of view, where like any sort of works are like just anathema to them. It's like, no, we don't need to do any works at all. Like, we're saved by grace through faith. Like, but no, like our faith is like proven by our works. Like we're doing works because we want to show our faith. Like we're yes, we're saved by faith, but like we produce works because of our faith, not like to try and say like we're not saved by our works. We're saved by grace, but like we do these works so that people see the light of Christ in us, and that we are trying we can't, like, we can never pay back the price that Christ gave, but like we can show our thankfulness to him for that price that he paid by producing good works.
Right. Yeah, and I got into discussion just earlier this week, or maybe it was on Friday last week. I forget. I want to say it was Monday this week. I got into this discussion with my coworker, who's a Jamaican, and he's into his 50s. I forget how old he is, but he's a pastor and an elder. And
was he Jamaican you crazy?
A little bit, yeah. We oftentimes see things the same way, but from a different perspective, and because there's the language barrier, but also the generational barrier there. Like, he can speak English just fine, but like a quick example, he says hammer, ama. And so he doesn't enunciate things, and so there's a huge dialect barrier there in when we get into like deep conversations, and then you take it further, and he was very much so raised on the the Armstrong, Herbert and Ted Armstrong, the father and son. He was very much so raised on their teachings, and so a lot of times he wants to bring that up, but he also has grown kind of against some of what, or a lot of what they taught, simply out of the political standpoint from it, with how they ran things. But between the generational teachings, the Christian view that he grew up with, and what I've grown up with, there's a huge barrier there. But we got onto the discussion again of works by faith or salvation, and both of us kind of came at it from the same belief, but from a completely different perspective. And because of those two, it was like, no, you're seeing things completely differently. No, you're not understanding me. No, I've already been down this road. Like, I know exactly what you're going to say. It's like, no, okay, yeah, you've had 50 plus years of study and everything. Like, you think you know what I'm going to say, but I'm not. And then it got into, well, mainstream Christianity, and he's thinking by me saying mainstream Christianity, I mean, well, the Baptists and the Roman Catholics and the Pentecostal or the Methodist, like what's generally taught today. Is like, no. Mainstream Christianity is effectively the equivalent of most of society saying, well, yeah, I'm a Christian, I believe in God. Like that's it. There's no standard there. It's just, I believe in God, and okay, you're Christian. That's mainstream Christianity. They don't follow the Bible. They don't, read the Bible. They oftentimes contradict one thing for another, because they'll read half a verse and then base their entire argument off that. It's like, so there's that barrier there, and he got set on the trying to explain that, well, none of these things these things matter anymore. Christ fully fulfilled the law, and so these things, they're not required anymore. You don't need to celebrate the holy days. You don't need to celebrate the Sabbath. You don't need to observe the food laws. And it's like, okay, pause. I hear you, and I can agree that these things are not required for salvation. Simply the belief in Christ and his willingness to die for you is what gives you the right to salvation. That's all that's required. However, just because it's not required for salvation does not mean that I don't need to do it. Because there's a difference in coming to Christ at the very end of your life and never having heard about him, never having the chance to read the Bible and decide for yourself what you think is right or not, what do you think you should be doing, and somebody that's born into it their entire lives, as I have been, where, for me, it looks a lot different than for somebody else that just came to their faith. I don't sit here in any way and claim to think that I have everything right. I absolutely don't, which is why I try to keep an open mind and, be willing to listen to anybody's perspective, at least for a short time, before I decide to filter them out. But that said, like, I've had time to be able to read over and decide, well, do I want to just keep doing something because it's what my parents taught me, or do I want to form my own belief on it and figure out what I think is right, what I think is not right, what I think it should be different from what they've done. And there's a lot of people that don't get that. So for them to not celebrate the Sabbath on, Saturday versus Sunday, or to, well, they're okay, with eating pork and crab, but they don't see the need to celebrate the fall feast, whereas I think the opposite. I personally don't think that we should still be eating pork or crab or anything that goes against the food laws in Leviticus. And I do think we should still be observing, the Levitical holy days. But at the end of the day, that's personal preference in one stance. It's not required for salvation, but based upon what I know, I'm going to be held accountable. And if I think that I should be doing these things and I'm not doing them, well, then I'm sinning. Even if the act in and of itself is not technically a sin, I'm still not doing the things that I believe in. And that would be sin according to the Bible.
Yeah. Yeah, I see where you're coming from with that. Not saying I 100% agree. We can talk about that a different day, in private. But I do see where you're getting going with that, and I think it might be actually in Second Corinthians. We can talk about that a different day though.
No, you're good.
Yeah.
Let's see if my computer even has enough battery to power on. Probably not.
All right. Okay, apparently I need that up. All right, so with that being said, I think we can move on to the next parable. Which I kind of wish this parable wasn't right here. I kind of I feel like this parable goes really well with the last parable in Luke, in Luke 18, but because it kind of has a very similar message, but I don't have all that much time to really go through both of them. So that'll be a couple weeks from now. We'll worry about that in a couple weeks. I'll always have it to go back to. This one is the parable of the lowest seat at the feast. I don't think that's the actual uh sometimes they put them there, but it's not the actual heading on. Yeah, it's in in ESV, it's the parable of the wedding feast. I'm not sure where they get the heading from on this. I just took it off of a screenshot that someone else made. So, but it's in Luke 14, verse 7 through 14. Yep. All right. So now he told the parable to those who were invited when he noticed how they chose the places of honor, saying to them, when you are invited by someone to a wedding feast, do not sit down in a place of honor, lest someone more distinguished than you be invited by him. And he who invited you both will come and say to you, give your place to this person. Then you will begin with shame to take the lowest place. But when you are invited, go and sit in the lowest place, so that when your host comes, he may say to you, I can talk, I swear. Friend, move up higher. Then you will be honored in the presence of all who sit at the table with you. For everyone who exalts himself will be humbled, and he who humbles himself will be exalted. And it continues on to 14. He said also to the man who had invited him, when you give a dinner or banquet, do not invite your friends or your brothers or your relatives or rich neighbors, lest they also invite you in return, and you be repaid. But when you give a feast, invite the poor, the crippled, the lame, the blind, and you will be blessed because they cannot repay you, for you will be repaid at the resurrection of the just. That's kind of odd. Yeah, it's two separate parts. I'm just kidding. All right. So obviously, the message at the very for this one that is at the very end of verse 11. For everyone who exalts himself will be humbled, and he who humbles himself will be exalted. That's the primary message here. Agreed?
Yeah.
And honestly, this brings me to a little bit of a story time. I don't remember how long you stayed. I don't remember seeing you leave my wedding. But I do remember you were there. So I think it was after the dinners, after all the speeches. One of my groomsmen, he brought his girlfriend, and she ended up sitting at the end of the table, like after, like I don't actually remember how long it was. She might have done that like before, like even at the beginning of the what you call it, the like the reception. I don't remember. Um, but yeah, she sat up there with him because like I don't know what her reasoning was, but like we purposely like set a chair there because like we set a glass with David's name on it. Like we wanted to leave an empty chair for my brother David. Uh, and she just kind of like inserted herself, and I didn't say anything at the time. It didn't really bother me. I barely even paid attention because like I was so busy that day. But like it like when I was first read this parable, like that's one of the first things I thought of is like she really like set herself in a place of honor, and uh like I should like someone should have said something. I probably should have said something, but I was like so busy and it was a hectic day. But like it just reminds me of that every time I come to it. You awake there?
Yeah, sorry, my computer is spazzing out. Um, yeah, I think a lot of times people look at those types of situations, and usually it's a case where they don't think anything of it,
Yeah,
and they simply just don't know any better. Usually, not always. Um, and if it's not that, then again, usually it's a nobody's really paying attention. It's not going to matter.
yeah,
Um, like in her case, it very well might have been, oh, there's an open seat or whatever. Um,
yeah,
I'll just sit here next to my boyfriend. Or it again, me speaking for her may not be the best thing, but if
yeah,
it wasn't that, it may have been, hey, I see somebody else's name here, but they're obviously not showing up. I think it'll be all right if I just sit here, and if it's not, they'll tell me. I'll move.
yeah,
Um, Not necessarily planned to be, nefarious. Just
yeah. No, I don't think she
it's
meant
better
any.
to ask for forgiveness than permission, kind of thing.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah. I don't think she meant
and that
anything
may be all
ill
right.
will towards
Uh,
it, but
Right, and that may be, maybe perfectly fine. And I think that too often we tend to have that mindset when it comes to the kingdom, where it's, oh, I don't know any better, so I'll just be told if I'm wrong.
yeah,
So it'll be fine, if I sit up here. Um, or it's nobody else is seems to be taking this spot, so I'll step up. And
yeah,
in the real world, that's, hey, nobody else seems to be leading in this area. I'll step up and I'll lead. Um, because I've got enough knowledge or resources or whatever. And in some areas that's perfectly fine, but that would be like me going to your wedding reception, which it was lovely, by the way. Um, but it would be like me going there, and for whatever reason, the pastor or the officiator is late, and I
yeah,
don't see anybody stepping up. I haven't been told. I'm just going to go up and I'm going to officiate your wedding because, hey, this guy's missing. Like, what are you doing? You know,
yeah,
like even if for conversation's sake, I was a pastor and I had the ability to, hey, I'm a close friend with Stephen. I've got, my pastor's license. I have the ability to officiate. Nobody else is doing it. The wedding was supposed to start at, 7. It's now 7:30. I'm going to start this, like, what are you doing? Even if you have
yeah,
the qualifications, that doesn't mean that you just get to simply step up and step into a position that you weren't offered. And we often have that mindset, when it comes to, uh, I don't necessarily want to say the kingdom itself, or just simply church activities, but when it comes to spiritual things, we have this. Well, I'm doing what's right for God. This is what God wants, and
Yeah.
it turns into the exact same situation of the uh, the disciples trying to, or not the disciples, it was believers, uh, trying to cast out demons in Jesus' name, but not really having a clue what they were doing, or the actual authority that they needed or should have to be able to do that. It's not that they were wrong for wanting to, but you don't go out looking for a fight the same way that you don't step up like Saul did and try and offer sacrifices when you are not the leader. And he ended up being stripped of the kingdom for that and it given to David. The same
Yeah.
way you don't approach God's altar with unholy fire just by trying to prove that, hey, we know what we've got, what it takes, we know what to do, we can just step in and do this the same way our father Aaron does. And Nadab and Abihu were killed on the spot for it. Like,
Yeah.
there's certain things that, despite the fact that God and Jesus are absolutely holy and just, and were willing to die for us and offer us eternal salvation through their blood, that doesn't mean that we can just disregard it and think, I'm covered by mercy, I'm good to do whatever. It's like, no, 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 no. This is a free gift, but there is a condition with it. Two, technically, but they're wrapped up in one, and it's, love me first and love your neighbor next.
Yeah.
And in doing that, the other flip side of it, that's the second part, and I know that first one was technically two parts, but the second side of it is, if you're going to do that, you do that with your whole heart. You give me all of you, not just a little bit of you, not just the little pieces of you that you think are worthy enough, all of you. And you don't hold back. And too often it's, and no, God offered his salvation to me, so I'm gonna accept him when it's convenient, and when it gets in my way, I'm gonna shoo him off. Or I'm going to accept him, and give him the good parts of me that I think are worthy of him, but the stuff that is still covered in sin that I'm not quite willing to let go of, or I can't let go of, or whatever, I'm gonna act like that doesn't exist and sweep it under the rug. And it's like, no, 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 you don't get to do that. See,
Yeah.
see, when you accept my salvation, you accept all of it for every single part of you.
Yeah.
And that's
Amen.
not just you're covered by mercy when it's convenient for you. It's, you're covered by mercy all the time. And being covered by mercy is not a free get out of jail ticket, or a free ride to do whatever you want. It's, you're now safe because you're bound to me rather than your sin.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, and I think like one part of this parable, like it tells us not to sit in a place of honor lest someone more distinguished than you be invited. It'd be like if you sat down at the head table of my wedding reception, like sat in like the best man seat, even though I didn't ask you to be best man. But like you sat down there thinking, oh, I deserve this. I'm friends with Steven. I deserve to be sitting here. Like I've known him for this long. I deserve to be sitting here because like you think, oh, I hold the highest honor here. But then like we walk in, and best man comes in like, what are you doing? And the guy walk up like, come on, you gotta get out of the seat. Like, I didn't ask you to be I didn't ask you to be the best man. Like, this is the best man. This is his seat. And then like you like you end up having to go sit down further, like even further away. Like that's the whole point is like you're being like you're putting yourself in a position of honor that nobody like you didn't act like you didn't get asked to be, you didn't deserve, even though you thought you were deserving.
Yeah.
And the second part of the parable, like when you give a dinner or banquet, do not invite your friends or brothers, lest they also invite you in return, and you be repaid. I think the reason of him saying this is you're doing this like you're inviting your friends and your brothers, your relatives, like all these people, because they have something to give in return. Like like they're able to like repay you in this worldly like flesh, like in this world. But like if you repay like if you invite these who cannot repay you, like you'll be blessed. Like you are going to be repaid in blessing, like in the resurrection, uh for doing this. Like you like where was I going with this? Like you like they have nothing to pay. Like it's like that one I don't know if it was a parable. I don't think it was a parable. It was a story like these people giving to the temple, like they gave like 10%, but like this woman who had virtually nothing gave all that she had. And Jesus said, like this woman is blessed because like you gave out of your abundance, but she gave out of everything she had. Which goes to what you were just saying about out like when we're covered by mercy, like we need to be covered by mercy all the time, not just like when it's convenient for us.
Well, and that's shoot, that would be, I think it's still Elijah. I always mix up Elijah and Elisha's uh, miracles that they performed.
Naturally, they have the very similar names.
Yeah, right. You just had to pick another guy named Eli to follow you. That
Like,
I
all
don't
right,
remember if it's,
I'm leaving. I'm going to leave Eli in charge. Like,
yeah.
sir, you're Eli. No, I'm leaving Eli in charge.
Yeah,
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut
I
off your train of
forget
thought.
if it's Elijah had both uh both stories with poor widows, or if one, each of them had one incident. Um, but one of the two, regardless, had the poor widow that was basically on her deathbed. She had just enough food to be able to provide a small meal for herself and her infant son. Um, and basically she was going to cook that up and make a small cake for the two of them to share. And then she was planning on basically just starving to death because she had nothing left. And there was a drought in the land. So, it wasn't like she could go and get more. Even if she could, she didn't have money to be able to do so. This was everything she had. Um, and the prophet steps in and he's like, "Hey, I want to bless you. But first, bake a cake for me, and then you can bake a cake for yourself." And it was a real world example of, you know God saying, serve me first, and then I will bless everything that you have, so that it can then take care of you. And she's like, I don't have enough. And I don't have enough to do that. This is all that I have left, and it's not even enough for both of us. And he's like, I hear what you're saying, but just feed me first, and then you can make, and it will be enough. And she basically has the option. Well, I can either trust what he says, or I can just go off my original plan, do what I wanted to do, and uh, that's probably going to be the end for me and my son. I'm going to go out on a limb here. Guess it doesn't really matter at this point because, either I save myself for a few hours, or by chance he's right and, something miraculous happens out of this. I don't have anything to lose but a few hours of my life.
Yeah.
So she ends up trusting him and bakes the cake for him. And then lo and behold, there's enough for her.
Yeah.
And it isn't just that. It's like the fish and the loaves. It's until the drought ends, there's enough for her every single time.
Yeah. That is,
and it's not just for her and her son. There's enough for her and her son and any who come into her home. And I think that we often look at things like the hosting feasts and just doing good in general, almost with the same lens as hospitality nowadays.
Yeah.
People think of hospitality and they think, well, I've got friends coming over, I've got to have the best towels out, I got to bring out the good china, I've got to bring, make certain that my home is spotless, I got to make certain that I'm in good clothes, that I'm on my best behavior, that my kids are on my best behavior, that everything's been cleaned up and put away,
Yeah.
that it hasn't just been shoved into the closet and hope for the best.
Don't you dare make it seem like anyone lives here.
Yeah, right. People can't live here. Good Lord, that would be atrocious if I lived in my own home. But just the absolute best of the best. And if we don't have that, well, I'm sorry. It's just I can't swing it right now. And it's interesting that he worded it. If you have a dinner or a banquet, don't invite your brothers or your friends. It's like, whoa, wait, hold on. Wait, what do you mean? Isn't that exactly who I want to have? If I'm hosting a feast, to invite my loved ones, who is my mother and my brother and my sister, but he who does the will of the Lord. Like, is that not exactly who I should be doing this for? And Christ again says, no, it's not about who you love. Again, relating just like Paul does all of his articles, the parables with Jesus. Do not even the demons and the sinners love those who love them.
Yeah.
And show kindness to those who show kindness to them. Like, instead, show love to those who don't know you at all, who don't know anything to you about you and don't owe anything to you. Show kindness and love to them. And it's not you're not allowed to be kind and good to your loved ones. It's don't forget to include those that normally wouldn't be included.
Yeah.
In fact, don't forget to go out of your way to include those who absolutely wouldn't be included. And it's not a yes, I'm telling you to go ahead and cast your pearls before the swine. That's a different step. It's a don't forget to take the chance to spread manure and fertilizer and just care for that barren fig tree, because you never know if it will sprout. If it doesn't, then it's the casting pearls before swine. You know for a fact it's worthless. It's not doing anything. Don't put more time into it. But always be willing to take the chance, because that tree may end up being the most productive tree on your entire property. That tree could end up, giving back to you tenfold, 100-fold, anything you put into it. And that's exactly what Christ is saying here, towards the end of it. um for you will be repaid at the resurrection of the just. Like, you may not see it in this lifetime, what comes of that tree, or of that person, but I promise you, if you're willing to be kind and generous to those who have no ability to give back to you, you'll be repaid in the end. The same way for the not the rich young ruler, the guy that owed money. I forget the name of the parables. I'm jumbling them together tonight.
Uh, is it the unmerciful servant?
Yeah, that one. The dude owed his master the effective equivalent of like
20
200,
lifetimes,
300.
basically.
Yeah, like a ridiculous amount of money. To think that he could even, somehow spend that much money is absurd to begin with. But he owed just an unreasonable amount of money, just a debt that could never be paid. And in the end, he ended up getting that exact same repayment because he was so unkind to somebody that owed him so little. He got
Yeah.
his life handed to him, and it was it would be far worse for him after death. And the opposite of that is, if you're willing to forgive those who forgive you, you too will be forgiven. At the very end in the kingdom. Like,
Yeah.
anything we do here is going to determine what we get in the kingdom. If we try and lift ourselves up, sorry, you had your glory here. But if
Yeah.
we are willing to humble ourselves, we get glory in the kingdom.
Yeah. Amen. Amen. Thank you for that, brother.
Yeah, sorry, that was a small message of rambling.
I mean, yeah, anyone who didn't catch him the first time, it's gonna be on YouTube. You can go back and watch it. You can listen to him ramble over and over again. I think I might.
Hey, listen, I had to catch up and get my rambling in because I missed, 20 minutes at least of the start of it. So
Yeah. Like you missed 20 minutes, but you rambled on for about 45.
even it out,
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. That's fine. That's what we're here to do. We're here to ramble. You missed 20 minutes of rambling. You missed out on some shenanigans today. Like, I don't like, are you feeling okay?
Listen, there was not nearly enough shenanigans caused by my hand today. I had a small sunset. I was thankful for that, but I need a little bit of shenanigans. So it's either let you be my out, or here shortly, before bed, cause some shenanigans on video games. And I've had too late of night to actually be able to take advantage of that the past couple of days. So I don't know that I'll get
Yeah.
to tonight either.
Yeah. I won't be able to at all this weekend, so I gotta fit sometime in tomorrow or Friday. I'm not sure which yet. Yeah. Anyway, just to quickly recap, the first parable that you kind of missed out on, uh, which is a shame because I spent like a lot of time on it too, and you didn't pop in until like the very end. So, I had two things that I put at the forefront, like in the first half, like it's parable of the rich fool in Luke 12. Um, and someone in the crowd basically asked Jesus to divide the like asks him to tell his brother to divide the inheritance with him. And the response that Jesus gives actually reminds me of Mark 10, uh, where someone comes to Jesus and says um and calls him good teacher and asks him what to do to inherit eternal life. And Jesus responds like, "Why do you call me good? No one is good except God alone." And the way that Jesus responds to this to the man in Luke 12 is, "Man, who made me a judge or arbitrator over you?" And I think both of those, like, they test the heart of the person that's asking the question. Like, it's like, who am I to you that you think that I do you believe that I have the authority, or are you just saying this because you want money? Like, are you just saying this because you want something from me? Like, that's one thing I got from it. And then the like continuing on to and like he goes on to challenge us by saying like, take care and be on guard against all covetousness, and one's life does not consist in the abundance of his possessions, because he's saying like, I know exactly why you're asking me this question. Like, I know what's in your heart. You are just being greedy, you're being covetous. Like, you and me asking this question is a challenge to you. Like, who is God in your heart? Is it me, or is it the money that your brother has? And then in the parable, and it does go on and touches that, but like, um the parable just reminds me of Second Corinthians 2:6, where Paul said, like, where, sorry, 6:2, not 2:6, where Paul says, "For he says, in a favorable time I listened to you, and in a day of salvation I have helped you. Behold, now is the favorable time. Behold, now is the day of salvation." And it reminds me that um, today is the day of salvation. That like the tomorrow isn't promised. Today we need to put our focus on God, because like we don't have tomorrow promised. And the parable goes, the land of a rich man produced plentifully, and he thought to himself, "What shall I do? For I have nowhere to store my crops." And he said, "I will do this. I will tear down my barns and build larger ones, and there I will store all my grain and my goods. And I will say to my soul, Soul, you have ample goods laid up for many years. Relax, eat, drink, be merry." But God said to him, "Fool, this night your soul is required of you, and the things you have prepared, whose will they be? So is the one who lays up treasure for himself and is not rich toward God." And like those, like, obviously, like, both of those uh kind of go into this, like, the concept of like laying up your treasures on earth as opposed to in heaven. But also like the part where it's where he says like, "Fool, this night your soul is required of you," is like, you've stored up all these things, and you say, like, you're saying, like, you're making plans like, oh, you're gonna build bigger things to store your things. But like, you don't even have tomorrow. Like, you tomorrow isn't given to you. Like, yeah, I'm taking you to nights. And that's why. And like, where, like, I'm taking you tonight, and your heart is not towards me, your heart is towards what you have on this earth. And that's like, you're that's why I just I wanted I'm glad you asked me to recap it, because I wanted to go back. Like, today is the day of salvation. I want to hammer that. I want to ama that into people's into people's heads. Like, I want to hammer that
Mira,
into my
ama.
own head.
Yeah,
Like,
man.
I
Bring me the ama. No, I don't know that I've paid enough attention to this parable particularly. It's always been more the rich young ruler that I've thought
yeah.
of. And this is just kind of one that, I kind of forget about.
Yeah, I
Um,
think these ones parallel each other pretty well. Like, I don't
they
think they're the
they
same
do.
story, but like they're paralleled.
No, but they do though, and bear with me as I try and word this, but it's again drawing a direct similarity with not necessarily the 10 young virgins, Um, I always got to draw a blank right when I need to speak.
That's the enemy. He doesn't want
But
he doesn't want the word of God spread.
it yeah, it's the whatever you've done unto me, you did to the least of these, and whatever you didn't do to the
Oh,
least of
okay.
these, you didn't do unto me.
Yeah,
And
the sheeps and
you
goats.
yeah, and you listen to the end there, and it's so is the one who lays up treasure for himself. It is not rich towards God. What do you mean rich towards God? God doesn't need my uh my grains and my fruits and the toils of my work in my vineyards and fields. He doesn't need that. He has no need to eat. But you look at the story here, and the man has an absolute abundance of crops to the point where he doesn't even have a place to put it. And his thought is not, I have too much food here, I have excess, I can give stuff away. It's, I don't need to work anymore. I'm free. I'm set for life. I am taken care of. Me.
Yeah.
I don't need to do anything. And it's like, okay, pause. One, that's aside from the grains, which you can keep for a little while if you have a storage place to put them in, certainly. All the fruit and stuff, the vineyards, even if you're turning that into wine, it still has to be stored someplace or it has to be sold. I can see that you need a place to put it, even if it's just temporarily. That makes sense. But it still then has to be sold. And if it were a tangible thing that wasn't a perishable item that you had the ability to sit on and then sell, or within reason, sure, you could absolutely effectively gain a massive growth in your wealth and your savings and stuff. But in this case, again, his first thought was, I no longer have to work again. And kind of as a man, that's how we're designed, is I need to provide and protect.
Yeah.
And now if suddenly I'm relieved of that burden, like, it takes a huge weight off my shoulder, great. But he looked at that and it was, hey, this takes a huge weight off my shoulder. Now I can do whatever I want. I never have to work again. And it's like, wait, no. There's still work to be done. Just because you have a bountiful, year of produce this year does not mean that next year won't be a famine or a drought.
Yeah.
You need to be able to set aside. So his first thought should have been, okay, how much do I need to set aside in order to protect the well-being of myself and those in my household? And then with the excess, not how much can I eat and drink and be merry and just do whatever I want. Kind of sounds very vaguely, not so vaguely, familiar to the prodigal son speaking.
Yeah.
And interesting that this started with an inheritance. Kind of makes me think the father wasn't dead yet. Wouldn't be surprised if doesn't the parable of the prodigal son come later in the chapter anyways?
Not in the chapter, but in the
or not in the chapter, but in
Luke,
the book of Luke.
Yes. In fact,
Now
that will be next week, actually.
I'm starting to draw conclusions that maybe the parable of the prodigal son happened because of these two here, and it was these two that would eventually become the two brothers.
Yeah.
But sorry, side tangent. But it sounds vaguely familiar of the parable of the prodigal son with the I've got the ability to relax, eat, drink, and be merry. And God said to him, and I reading this, I don't get that it was that night. I think it was after he finished building and everything. God's like, well, congratulations, you just decided to store up for yourself all of this wealth that you have absolute excess of anything you could ever use up, and you're not willing to give it to others. Your mindset is only on what you can do for yourself. Now, what are you going to do when you can't take that with you and you have done nothing to aid those around you? Sorry, you had your glory in this lifetime. You don't get anything in the next.
Yeah.
Like I think we need to be very cautious that we're not sitting here with the mindset that when I get in abundance, I can relax and do nothing and never have to work again. Is there a benefit to be able to be rich, whether it be in materialistic things or in love? Absolutely. But we shouldn't have the mindset that because I have a plentiful year, that it's impossible for the following years there to be a drought.
Yeah. All right. Well, I don't have much more to say. In particular, like I like the parable of the rich fool, like I said, just because of the message of like today is the day of salvation. Do you have anything to say about that?
No, I'm glad you brought that up. That was one of the other things that I wanted to mention. Um, Similar to the wanting to store things up, uh, especially as men, for you and I particularly. Again, we have that mindset of I need to work, 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 and I can't stop. And when it comes to our weekly rest, we often almost times feel guilty, and we feel like we still need to be working or getting something done. Um, and we don't take the time to rest when we need it, and we get burnt out way too easily if we're not cautious with that. I imagine much more so for you now that you have a wife and kids and a dog and much more responsibilities than just simply owning a home,
Yeah.
uh, as compared to myself. But just like the Israelites in the wilderness, where God specifically told them, "Hey, gather double what you need on the sixth day, because on the seventh day there is not going to be anything out, and I don't want you going out to collect manna.
Yeah.
Um, I want you to be able to rest and enjoy that. But heed my word, obey my command, because if you still go out, to do stuff, there's going to be a punishment."
Yeah.
And I think that we have this mindset that we need to work, 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 and it seems to be the exact opposite when it comes to things of the kingdom, where it's, I don't need to do anything until Saturday, and then I need to work, 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 work on Saturday, or
Yeah.
I only need to pay attention and just dive into my Bible during church, and then the moment church stops, I'm good. We can talk about football, we can talk about the games, we can talk about our work week, whatever, what we're going to do tomorrow. We don't need to do anything. And the other side of it is that we get it stuck in our heads that if I simply just do the bare minimum, it's not like a bare minimum. It's like, if I have at least this much, then I'm good.
Yeah.
You know, we treat the bare minimum not as like a I'm barely getting in the door threshold.
Yeah.
It's like, if I do this, I don't need to worry about anything else because God's grace covers me.
Yeah. Like being invited to a party, like you walk in the door, you just kind of go sit in the corner. Like you don't
Yeah,
talk to anyone. You don't talk to anyone. You just
like
like you grab a drink and you just sit in the corner and just keep to yourself.
yeah, like it's like sliding into the back of the classroom, you know, during the basically right as the bell is ringing. Like, if I sit in the back, I'm fine. If I sit in the back, at church, the pastor's never going to call on me or pick on me, like, and I won't be a disturbance to anybody else either. And it's either that mindset, or it's, well, because I feel like I'm so far behind, I need to just jump to the front and be absolutely doing the most work, and condemning those that aren't doing enough, or whatever. And again, forgive me as I try to figure out how to word what I want to word. But when it comes to the day of salvation, we've either got two mindsets. It's either I need to do just this much and I'll get by, maybe just barely, but I'll get by, and God will take care of the rest and I'll be totally fine. I just need to make sure that I can do just that little bit. Or it's, if you're not doing everything the way that I'm doing, you're failing.
Yeah.
And the reality is, neither one of those mindsets are true. It is absolutely true that there is a long and winding road, and it's very narrow, and few find it to be able to get to heaven. However, it has many different starting points, many
Yeah.
different entrances. There is one gate, it leads to one destination, but there is many ways to get to that route.
Yeah.
And
Going off like what you're saying about like many like starting points is like it, like when I say like today is the day of salvation, like it doesn't matter what you did yesterday or 3 years ago, 4 or 5, like 2 decades ago. Today you have like you have the ability to be saved by Jesus Christ. Like today you have the ability to accept Christ into your heart and be saved. Like today you can start your journey. It doesn't matter what you did 3 decades ago. It doesn't matter. Shoot, 3 decades ago is me. Like that's my entire life.
yeah,
Like it doesn't matter. But like what's important is that you start your journey today.
right. Well, yeah, and it's exactly that. People look at it as either uh, once saved, always saved mindset. It doesn't matter what I did yesterday. I'm good because I was saved in the past, or because I asked for forgiveness today and I don't ever need to again.
Yeah.
Or it's, you need to be doing the absolute most all the time, and if you ever take a break or stop, you've abandoned God. It's like, no, no, neither one of those are right. Like,
Yeah.
I desire mercy, not sacrifice. I
Yeah.
desire you to be able to take a rest. The man, or Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. Like, I design these things
Yep.
with intention and with purpose. You cannot, sway to one extreme or the other, but keep in mind that the two need to work hand in hand. You should be working yourself throughout the week so that on the Sabbath, you're not feeling guilty for resting, like you should be doing more because you don't feel like you did enough during the week. You should be
Yeah.
tired enough that it's like, man, I needed this. I'm glad for a day of rest. Thank you for giving me the ability to recover.
Yeah.
You should be, of the mindset that, hey, I've done enough during the week. I've got this day to recover. Great. But I also don't need to just kind of coast through my week and do the bare minimum and hope that, someone else has picked up the slack, or, will step up where I fell short on the Sabbath, like the five unwise virgins did with their oil and
Yeah.
lamps in the parable.
Yeah.
Do the work that you need to do and trust that God will pick up where you do fall short, but don't intend to do the bare minimum just because you know that he will pick up.
Yeah. And one thing I've heard that really stuck with me is that like Jesus had the same 24 hours in a day that we do. Like, do we really think that we can do more work than he did in that time? And he took a rest.
Right.
It's like
Yeah.
he understands that rest is important. He rested on the seventh day.
Right. Yeah. And I believe, again, my own beliefs that the Sabbath is Friday sundown to Saturday sundown. That's what I believe. I personally don't think that I can just say, well, it can just be any day is the Sabbath as long as I take one day. That said, if you're not convicted of Saturday, or even you're not convicted of Sunday, you need to start with something.
Yeah.
You need to be able to say, hey, I need this day. And it should not be a case where you're saying, well, Sunday doesn't really work for me this week, but I can do Sunday next week, and maybe Wednesday works, the following week. And well, the week after we've got, a birthday party and a trip and so much going on. And, maybe I'll just do it Tuesday then. Like, no, you need to be committed.
Yeah.
Choose what you believe and stick to it. And if you find out that you believe something different a little bit later, that's perfectly fine. Again, I don't have everything right. You don't have everything right. The Baptists don't have everything right. The Roman Catholic don't have everything right. Like, we are all on a journey from different starting points, different entrances, trying to work towards that narrow gate.
Yeah.
We're all walking down the same path, but we're on different points. If you come at it from a different perspective, totally fine, as long as we're still heading in the same direction. Okay?
Yeah.
So start somewhere, but be committed. Do it with your whole heart. Don't be like, convenience, tradition. No.
Yeah.
Find what
And
you believe and do.
Yeah. And I do think it might be a little important to like define what rest is exactly, because like some people like I believe the Jews still like they hit like there are elevators in Israel that just stop at every floor on the Sabbath. Like they stop and open the doors just so that nobody has to press a button. And I think that's a little excessive. Like I think you can press buttons even while you're resting. That's me personally. But like
and I agree. I mean, out of tradition, and just for the sake of how things are written, don't light a fire on the Sabbath. Okay, that means I can't start my car because it starts a fire. I can't turn on the oven because it starts a fire. It's like, no, that's not it. The whole purpose of it. No, yes, there was an aspect of don't do work on the Sabbath back then. Again, the same thing with the Israelites in the wilderness. Don't collect manna on the seventh day. Collect double the amount on the sixth day so that you have enough for then and the following day. God gives you a preparation day in and of its sense. Which is why, if you're going to be celebrating the Sabbath, I don't think that you should be working right up to the Sabbath, because you give yourself no time to prepare. In the same way, I don't think that you should be like the foolish young virgins, where you kind of got stuff around and did the bare minimum and then just expect everybody else to pick up your slack. Do the work that you need to do and recognize that, hey, the day before or the few hours at least leading up to the Sabbath, I should be preparing so I'm not stepping into it blindly.
Yeah.
At the very least, I'll have a much better preparedness if I've been training and been preparing, rather than just, okay, now I can rest. Now I can do this. It's like you don't have the ability to take advantage of that rest if you don't give yourself the space to breathe. I mean, how easy is it for you to rest at home when you have a few moments to yourself if you've got this huge task list in your head that is continually on loop and you can't shut it down? Like, we have a preparation day to be able to prepare physically, mentally, emotionally to walk into that space of the Sabbath day. And gosh dang it, my brain is all over the place today. What was it you had just mentioned about the
Like, yeah, well, what I was saying was
the
just kind of like define what rest is, because like if like the way I think about it is like
yeah,
I find rest in my family. Like like spending time with my family. I find that to be restful and re-energizing. And like even if we go out and do stuff, like if I take my kids to the zoo or something like that, I find that restful because like I'm like taking the time, like I'm not like overworking myself. I'm just relaxing. I'm going out. I'm having fun. Like I find that to be
yeah,
restful. Again, other people might not find it. Like they might go into like a like, oh, that's doing way too much. You're filling up your weekends. I have a very busy summer ahead of me, but like I get to spend a lot of it with my family, and I find that
yeah.
to be restful.
Well, and I think where I was going was, too many people look at the physical text and think that it applies the same way now as it did back then, and that's not quite accurate. From the standpoint, it's not that these laws were done away with, at least for me personally, it's that they were expanded on, because we went from being under the letter of the law, under the old covenant, to under the law of the Spirit, under the new covenant with Christ. And so, while yes, there was the don't light a fire on the Sabbath and don't do work on the Sabbath and all the rules, it was now, hey, those were designed and put in place with the intention of teaching and instilling in you the values and morals that I need you to comprehend. It's not about you being able to light a fire on the Sabbath. It's you recognizing that I need you to take this time to rest. And so I want your mind focused on me and actually being able to take advantage of this rest. Not, man, this is another thing that I have to do. I guess I have to give God, a couple hours during the week to go to church, or to listen to my pastor speak about a message on tithing, or giving to the church, or whatever. It's, no, God asked me to set aside myself. That's what it is to rest. Set aside our own wants and desires so that we can focus on him and be present with him in the moment. Because oh, well, I guess Steven checked out. He's having internet problems. Um, I'm gonna keep going and hope that he rejoins in. Um, but yeah, it is about being able to be present with God, to set aside our own desires, wants, and needs, and allow Him to bless us with the time that we have left. We absolutely have the ability and the need um, to come at it from a standpoint of what do I get out of this, but it when it all boils down to it, it is not about us and our needs. It's about what it does to further the kingdom. Because if you are not taking the time to rest and recover, you are not going to be a fruitful tree. You're going to be very minimal, if not barren. Hey, Steven, you're back.
Oh, I wasn't sure if it would stay in the.
Yeah, it kept me in. I don't know why it likes me and not you. Typically, Detroit Wi-Fi is very temperamental, so I'm shocked that it didn't also kick me out. I don't know, what was the last part that you heard, so that now I can recap for you? And you're frozen. Steven? Well, I'm not planning on this just being me. This is Steven's Bible study, not mine.
That's the second time it's done that.
All right, now you're back. Now I got you. Yeah, you froze out there, and then it kicked you off again.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to pop out. Like I'm gonna have to end the stream so it doesn't happen again. I'm sorry if I interrupted with something you were talking about, but I'm gonna have to end the stream there. It's been almost 2 hours.
No, you're good.
I'm using my hotspot right now, so I'm gonna end the stream there. And if you enjoy this content, please, I encourage you to like and subscribe, share it around, so that we can spread the word of God to all corners of the earth, just as Jesus prescribed in Matthew 28:19.
Thanks for having me, Steven. Appreciate it.
Yep, it's always enjoyable having you here, brother. I'll see you.
Yeah.
I'll see you next week. I might I might have time tomorrow. I'll be down in the Troy area if you want to grab lunch, if we're able to.
If I got the ability to, I would be happy to. We might be busy tomorrow, but yeah, if I got the ability to, I would love to.
Yeah. All right. Have a good night, y'all. God bless and go in peace.
Yeah.
You made it to the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching, and God bless you for tuning in. If you enjoy this content, please like and subscribe. Help me push this into the algorithm so we can get more viewers, so that we can spread the word of God to all ends of the earth. Thank you and God bless.